So for the companies or the experiences that you've had when companies are then moving away from Great Plains to Business Central, what are the key challenges that you've seen that customers face?
Yeah, so there is an organizational change curve. Definitely the interface is very different, right? We've moved away from this very spreadsheet oriented list view style ERP and moved into a very interactive interface with mobility in mind, right? With touch screens in mind. We've also moved from a premise of local SQL servers to your server being hosted in Azure. And you have indirect access via the application without actually having to install, SQL Server Management Studio on your PC. Writing SQL queries, where I started my career, right? There are some other aspects to it as well. When it comes to quote unquote the way I've always done it, right? We might find that the features are still there, but the process might have changed, or the interface has changed rather significantly, right? Management reporter is not a thing in Business Central, right? We have a native report engine within the ERP itself. So the premise of not having those separate systems, but more of a unified integrated system with the feature that is a reporting platform, or even, the same, just speaking to that same premise, a lot of industries and companies overall are moving to dashboard-based reporting, right? So things like Power BI, Tableau, where we're interacting with reports rather than ingesting spreadsheets.
Yeah. So it all sounds like it's a whole change of working, the way of working even. It's not just, it's a different, here's a different software that does the same thing. In the both in the background, a lot of things need to change, but also in the way people interact or are using the application. It will be a big learning curve by the sounds of it.
Yeah. I mean, and let's be honest, accounting as a premise hasn't changed all that much in 30 years, right? GAAP is going to be GAAP.
Yes.
So any of your mid-market ERPs are going to be constrained by wanting to conform to that premise. But there are things like process automation, right? It's it took me 12 buttons to do this in the past, and now it's 2, right? Or I'm not used to receiving an instant message rather than an email. I'm not used to not having to physically sign a check, right? There's just paradigms within our culture that are shifting not just the platforms, but our entire idea around how we work.
Yeah.